Intersectionality is inconsistent, and a recent social media post from the Girl Scouts just revealed this to the whole world. Technically, it wasn't the Girl Scouts who exposed this, but the hordes of people who commented on this particular post, which the Girl Scouts later removed. So first, let me show you the tweet, and then I'll explain what intersectionality is if you don't already know. So here's the tweet. It's a tweet congratulating our new Justice, Amy Coney Barrett, on becoming the 5th woman appointed to the Supreme Court since its inception in 1789. So let me describe to you what intersectionality is in case you're not familiar with it. Intersectionality is part of what's called critical theory, which is a Marxist philosophy that divides everyone up into two groups, oppressed or oppressor. The oppressors are the ones who impose their will on other people, and the oppressed are the ones upon whom the oppressor's will is imposed. So let me give you examples. Males are seen as the ultimate oppressors because we have almost a systemic oppression of a male-dominated society, according to this view. So males are the oppressors, and women are viewed as the oppressed. Whites are the oppressors, and blacks or other minorities are the oppressed. Cisgender people are seen as the oppressors, and transgender or LGBTQ people and all those are the oppressed people. You kind of get the idea how this goes, okay? There's this whole group mentality going on. It's part of critical theory. But intersectionality refers to how many points of oppression that you experience. For example, let's just say you are a black man. If you're a black man, you have one more point of intersection than a white man. You're both men, so you're kind of at the top of the oppressor list. But if you're black, you're seen as minority, so therefore you have 1 point of intersection against you, meaning you probably are not going to be able to succeed in much in life as the white man. However, if you're a black woman, now you have 2 points of intersection working against you or in your favor, depends on how you look at it, because not only are you a female, so you're not at the top of the chain like a male would be, but you are also black. So you have 2 points of intersection against you. So the black female would have more points of intersection than a black male. Now, if you add into that someone who's transgender or LGBT or whatever, you start adding up all these points, and there's not like there's a list somewhere of exactly what they are. It's just understood that white, Christian, cisgender males are at the top of the oppressed list, and all the differences that you might have with that particular group right there, they're all points of intersection for you. Okay, so now let's get back to this Girl Scout post. This post was congratulating Justice Amy Coney Barrett on her confirmation to the Supreme Court, which I think would be expected because the Girl Scouts is obviously a female organization, and they are lauding the fact that one of theirs, a woman, was appointed and confirmed to the Supreme Court. Now, this wouldn't have been a big deal if it was a man, because more men have been on the Supreme Court than women have. And so they're celebrating the fact that this person, this woman who has a point of intersectionality, being a woman and not a man, she's put on the court. And that to them is worth celebrating, and I think it is too. I think that Justice Barrett is highly qualified from everything that I've seen, so it's worth celebrating. But the fact that she was a woman was a point of intersectionality that put her on Trump's radar, and I'm completely fine with that. I don't think there's any problem. I think that from what I've seen, she'll be a great justice. So we can celebrate that. But when the Girl Scouts put out this post, the responses to it were very, very telling by people who obviously struggling with this whole idea of intersectionality. Okay, so I'm going to start by reading to you this first response. This is from Representative Ayanna Pressley, a Democrat from Massachusetts, and she tweets this: "What kind of patch does one earn for uplifting a woman who is the antithesis of justice?" In other words, she doesn't think like I do. She doesn't think like I think that she should think. And she's not going to rule the way that I would rule. Therefore, her point of intersectionality about being a woman doesn't matter. So I want to look at this next one here. This is from another Twitter user. And by the way, I pulled this off Fox News, this whole article, because they've taken this post down. You can't see it anymore. Another Twitter user commented on this tweet. and she called herself a lifetime Girl Scout. And this is what she said. She said she was ashamed of that post by the Girl Scouts. And she said, I already felt uneasy as a trans person in this organization. So I don't know, was this a born boy or girl? I don't know. It calls her trans. I already felt uneasy as a trans person in this organization, the Girl Scouts, but now I really understand that with this message, that Girl Scouts really does not support me or my trans LGBTQ siblings, she added. So, I look at this, I say, what message? Now I really understand that with this message, the message of celebrating a woman on the court. So this person says, I can't celebrate this woman being on the court because she doesn't agree with me. In other words, my politics should trump the intersectionality of ACB. She's a woman, that's fine. But you know what? It's no good because she doesn't think politically the same way that I do. And I want to read one more here. One more, and this is from a guy named Noah Michelson, who was the editorial director of HuffPost Personal, connected with the Huffington Post. In a Facebook response, he said this: there was no requirement that we should celebrate someone as a hero to women simply because she identifies as a woman, especially when the thing she did was actually done for her by a gang of disgraceful goons, and when she is poised to destroy the lives of so many. So who are these disgraceful goons? Well, obviously, it's the president and all the senators who voted her in, who confirmed her. And so it's not very respectful speech there, for one thing. But what he says, I think, is so telling. He says, here is this person who identifies as a woman, but she should not have received this nomination and this confirmation to the Supreme Court just because she's a woman. Amy Coney Barrett has this intersectionality point of being a woman, but Noah Michelson says she identifies as a woman. Now, I don't understand how this works with intersectionality, because with intersectionality, you are in a group. You have no choice over what group that you're in. If you are a woman, you are automatically oppressed by men who are higher than you in the oppressor and oppressed list. But then he says she identifies as a woman. Well, what if Amy Coney Barrett would identify as a man? What if she would identify as a man? Well, can she do that? If you can identify with whatever you want to be, whether a man or a woman or black or white or whatever gender that you want to be, where does intersectionality go? What is the purpose of intersectionality? We can just all identify then as white, straight, Christian, healthy men, and therefore we're all the oppressors and nobody's the oppressed. You see how this doesn't make any sense? If intersectionality is something that we should be looking at, you're stuck in the group that you're in, and therefore you need to try to overcome those who are above you in the intersectionality totem pole, so to speak. It doesn't make any sense, because why don't you just decide, hey, I'm going to decide that I am something else. Or if I, as a white man, say I want to be lower on this because then I can call myself a victim and I can be in the oppressed status, well, then I'm going to decide that I'm a woman. So I'm just going to decide. You can't have intersectionality and the decision to be whatever you want to be together. It just doesn't work. I think intersectionality is inconsistent with people who would accept it to be true. If you're going to think that you can decide that you're a man or you can decide you're a woman apart from whatever biological gender you can have, it's all a thing in your mind, you cannot ascribe to intersectionality, because your intersectional position would be simply what you chose to be. No, God made us all the way that we are. And if we want to look at people being oppressed or oppressors and all that, we can talk about that. We can figure it out. But we cannot bring this whole idea of LGBT and transgender and you deciding what you want to be. You cannot combine that with intersectionality. It just doesn't work, or it's your fault for deciding to be in an oppressed category instead of in an oppressor category. So I hope you see how this just simply doesn't make any sense. I don't think that we should be putting people into groups. What if I, as a man, decided that I was going to declare myself to be a woman? Does that mean that the president should look at putting me on the Supreme Court too? Or that Biden should choose me to be his vice president candidate because he said he was going to choose a woman? I mean, how far does this go? It just doesn't work. For Amy Coney Barrett, being a woman was not enough. These people are attacking her and saying she shouldn't be on the court. They should be celebrating because she's a woman, but they're attacking her and saying she shouldn't be on the court because she doesn't agree with them politically. In other words, politics trump the intersectionality points that people automatically assume, being a woman, being a person of color, or whatever. Politics trump that. Hey, it's great to have a woman on the court. Oh, but wait a minute here. Wait a minute. She's not liberal. And so now all of a sudden, we can't celebrate this. Now all of a sudden, we're not going to support the Girl Scouts because they think that having a woman who is a conservative on the court is not a good thing. I think that we need to be so careful about putting people into groups and dealing with intersectionality in that way. I think we just need to look at the people who are the best ones for any particular job, whether it's on SCOTUS, whether it's for the presidential office, for senators, for congressmen, for congresswomen, judges across the board, someone who's working in your company, whatever it is, we need to be looking at the qualifications of that person rather than trying to put everybody into groups as we would have them be. Well, thanks for watching this with me, and I hope to have some more later on about this idea of critical theory, critical race theory, and intersectionality. But until then, if you haven't already, hit subscribe down there, and I'll see you next time. God bless.